So we've been having a thunderstorm. So if anything happens, just hang on and we'll come back. So we'll use the same address to get back on.
Okay.
Okay, looks
Oh,
like we
same
are.
link, same link to get back on.
Same link. If
Okay.
we just get disconnected, we've been having a
Okay.
thunderstorm. Okay, guys, you are in the classroom. We are live according to what I'm being told. And so we're live a little bit early because I know many of you have texted me, have emailed me persistently, which is really, really good. It shows a sign of your commitment. But we are going to start our cleanse, our juice cleanse / fast, because some of you might want to add juices to your life, and some of you will want to completely eliminate food. So we're going to do either a cleanse or a fast or a feast. That's it, a feast. And so I wanted to tell you, well, first of all, it's 5:00. So I hope all of you are doing Ho'oponopono. And as a reminder, there are 4 statements with Ho'oponopono. We could do it together, which is, I'm sorry. And we're doing this for our leaders, and we're doing this also for the anger that is in the world, that is in us, that we're seeing in the world as well. So we ask for, I'm sorry and forgiveness. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And so those are the 4 statements. How you say them, the thank you and I love you and thank you. I don't know if there's a magical thing, but it's the intention by which you share it into the world. Right now, we need a lot of love. And Dr. John Gray is going to talk about a lot of love today. So I wanted to start the class reminding you about the Ho'oponopono, because there's a lot of people talking about what's going wrong, but we need to be about what we want to be right. And so, so that's a reminder. And then the second one is, as I said, we start our cleanse, our juice cleanse, fast, feast on Friday. So that means that if you are adding any processed foods into your life, you need to start, take them out, start taking them out, because the more pure your body is before you get started with this juice cleanse, the better this is going to be for you, and the less side effects you're going to experience. So today we have Dr. John Gray. I'm sure you all know him because he's going to be my banner white today, because I couldn't find my book, but it's Beyond Mars and Venus. Beyond Mars and Venus. There we go. That is the book we're going to be talking about, which is about relationships. I don't know. I didn't even know if we're going to be giving away books, but I didn't even ask Brooke. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about relationships. We're dealing with lots of loss. Oh, hold on a second. Let me start the recorder. So today we're talking to Dr. John Gray, and as many of us are dealing with lots of losses, whether it's the loss of a loved one or the loss of a career, the loss of a relationship or a friendship. So there is something that we all go through. It's, a grieving period. But how can we do this in a way where we can continue our life? Anyway, so today we're going to fasten our seatbelts, because we are going to learn and grow together. Hey, John, by the way, it's time to dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, here we go. I'm muted now. Something is going on with this Zoom session. Hello, my listening friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, today, I'm really excited because I've heard of Dr. John Gray, gosh, for such a long time. And about last year, it was in November of last year, John came to the classroom and he was obviously grieving. There was an outpouring of wanting to share. And it stuck with me. And I thought, this is a time where many of us are going through chaos. Many of us are confused. We don't know what's going on in the world, and it could be fearful. And there's never a good time to lose a partner. There's never a good time to lose a relationship. But when you're going through difficult times, it almost seems to me that that loss might even be stronger or greater. But how do we get past the grieving and move on to an acceptance, beyond acceptance, to starting a new life? How do we do this? Well, guess who's back? Dr. John Gray. He is the author of many books. MarsandVenus.com is where you can find him. And so we're really excited to hear how he's coming along the way and perhaps maybe give us some tips and how to make that transition so flawless so that we don't feel like we get stuck in a place, so we can move forward instead of backwards. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Dr. John Gray is here to do just that. Thank you, John, for being in the classroom.
Well, I'm happy to be with you. It's a real pleasure. You want me to talk about grieving? My wife died of cancer 2 years ago, minus 28 days. And it's been quite a journey for me. I've actually written books on grieving. One of them is called Mars and Venus Starting Over, how men and women tend to process loss differently. I will write a book about when your spouse dies. This has been a new version of that for me. Catastrophic, more than I could ever imagine, is when you've been married to somebody for many years. For us, it's we've been together 40 years, married 34 years. And you suddenly have if you're in love and you're deep, they're part of you, so you just lost an appendage of your body, and, the thing about it is doing the things for myself that she would do for me, as every time reminding me that she's not with me. And there's a process. And I think when you said how to do it flawlessly, how to do it so you don't get stuck in it, that is an important thing. I don't know if there's such a flawless way to do it, but there is a way not to get stuck in it. And so I want to, for me, it was several months, is actually just terrible pain in my heart, and crying out, wailing was the first stage of it. Now, I lost my mother to an accident. My father, on my honeymoon, was found dead in the trunk of his car. He picked up a hitchhiker and they left him in the trunk, and he died of heat asphyxiation. And that was on my honeymoon. That was a huge loss. I had a great relationship with him. My mother died of carbon monoxide asphyxiation in the house. There was an accident. So she was a vibrant lady and died. My younger brother committed suicide. And, I went through that grieving process. Another brother died of liver cancer. So I've been through it. Okay. So I've had a lot of losses in my life, and I've been divorced before as well. Divorce. Oh, that was actually my first big loss. Before I married Bonnie over 40 years ago, I was married to a woman for a couple of years, but that fresh love, I was a young guy, and to have my wife fall in love with somebody else was devastating for me. And for me, it was a double devastation, because I talk about male, female, men and women, Mars and Venus. Well, my Venus side of me, which the relationship part of me, just felt like when another man was better than me, she fell in love with somebody else. And that was shocking to me. And then there was, on the physical side of it, I was teaching a class with her called Making Love Work. So here I couldn't do my own job. So how's I going to make money? I wasn't going to teach seminars on relationship if mine had just suddenly ended like that. So I ended up teaching seminars on healing the heart because my heart was broken and I had to deal with that and learn how to deal with that. And so those are all various examples, but it's even if you're choosing the divorce, which, when she wants to be with somebody else, I chose not to be with her. I realized it's just not right. But my dream was to be with her. And that's what dies when somebody dies. When a marriage ends, our relationship breaks up, we have a dream that dies. But then it becomes magnified when you're actually depending on someone and interdependent for 40 years or 10 years, even whatever. It's so deep into the core inside of you. And so the journey for me was, fortunately, I'd been through all these others so I could understand. I think I would have just died had I not understood that the pain is passing and the pain always leaves us with a bigger heart. So intellectually, I knew that, but I didn't want anybody telling me that for sure, but I was knowing that, there's the biggest fear when you lose somebody, it hurts so much to have someone ripped out of you, is the fear, at least for me, was that this pain will never go away and I will never have my life as it was. And I went through all these various stages of grieving, wanting to turn back time. It was funny. One day it was like that. There's a song, Cher sings it, "Turn Back Time."
Yeah, what she has.
It was a passionate outrage. I don't want to be here. I want to rip open the wall of time and go back to my life as it was. And that's the feeling. That's when I got to the stage of feeling angry. Usually the first stage, when it's someone who's so close to you, the grieving process is, they're gone. So you're afraid. And, deep inside the fear is, can I find love again? But usually people are not aware of it. First one is just a fear that this pain will never go away.
Yeah.
And
I want to add something to that, because that was, I don't think people stop and think about pain or very happy moments. Many of us experience mountaintop experiences or, have that, and we think it's going to last forever, and it doesn't. So does pain. Pain, we think it's going to linger on forever, but it doesn't. And so they say that time heals all, but it's not really true unless we do something about that time, because we could stay stuck in that time as well. But that realization that you just said it, that the good experience, the bad experiences, they pass. They both pass equally the same. How did you remind yourself of that? How do you encourage people to make that a gentle reminder to not say that this is going to be forever?
Well, for me, it was such a devastating one. Fortunately, I had experience processing loss before. And it's very important for people who haven't gone through it, and then suddenly a loss of a spouse or some big shock like that, they really need to be in a group of people with others who somebody has the understanding that the pain eventually gets healed. Yeah. It's not that the pain goes, the pain heals. Okay, so it's actually healing, and a healing of pain means greater love. It means greater joy. It means greater happiness in your life. Pain is the opposite of love and joy, okay, and ease and comfort. So if you actually heal a pain, you're going to actually be better off than you were before. Kind of like if you have a broken arm. I remember as a little boy, I had 2 broken arms, and they said, oh, but they'll grow back stronger. And they do. If you break your bones and they reset them, they actually grow back stronger than what they were before.
Wow.
And that's the healing process.
Great visual.
Yeah, it's a great visual. But here's the thing. Now, to my broken bones, I was in 2nd grade, and I'm rather ambitious. I wanted to fly. So I was in a tree. I climbed trees very high, and I happened to fall, make a mistake, and fell head first 2 stories. And they thought I should die. Okay, it was just so lucky. My head was just perfectly hit, so I didn't snap my head. But I broke both my arms. So there I am as this kid, and bones are literally, the skin wasn't broken, but the bones are sticking up under the skin. Ooh. And now if somebody left those bones sticking up, they would have never healed. They had to be reset. So that's the whole key. When you have to reset, and then you can heal. And part of the reset is finding love again, not just designating yourself to, I will always be alone. I'll always feel this hurt. You have to start willfully doing things that will make you feel better. So this is a key. Now, here's the opposite force against that. And even though I knew all this, I still had to face it again and again, even more with my wife. I felt so much pain in losing my wife. Okay, now what is that about? And I can go back and cry right now. I mean, I'm always able to, it's so still fresh for me. So when this is Freud now talking, Freud explained that when we fall in love, there's something called a need integrate. That means we all need love. And now I found you. So my brain goes, oh, I need love. You love me. So now I need you. See how the brain goes? So I no longer need love anymore. I need you as much as I need love. So my brain sees you as the primary source of love. And if I lose you, then I cannot get love. Because see, the brain is attached that you're my source of love. You take away the source, I can't get love. And part of the healing then is to now train the brain that you can still get love. Now here, one of the obstacles against it is a really tricky one. If I love my wife, because I love her so deeply, my pain is literally unbearable. Okay. It's not like I just lost $50 or I lost $20. Okay. Or lost $1 million even. That nothing compared to this. So because I love her so much, I feel so much pain and I'm not happy while I'm feeling that pain. Okay. Happiness is when you don't feel happy with a toothache, right? So nobody does. Okay. So I'm not happy. I'm not happy about this at all. And I'm very, very sad. I'm very disappointed. I can't bear living even. It's so much pain. Now, as I'm in that pain and I start to talk about my pain with friends, I maybe watch a movie, I go for a walk in nature. What happens is my brain is starting to say, oh, I can start getting what I need elsewhere. And I start to feel a little happiness. Well, what happens then is my brain comes in and says, oh, if you're happy, that means you don't love your wife. Imagine if, I just, my wife just died and I just went out and celebrated. Okay, what would people think?
Correct.
What kind of a person am I? Clearly, I didn't love her. Clearly, I didn't need her. Clearly, I didn't feel so connected to her. So my pain is a sign, and it is. The more you're attached to somebody, the greater pain there will be. And attachment is dependence. The more you depend on them for something, you become attached to them. That's just how the brain works. Now, you take that away, the brain takes time to adjust and see that I can get what I need in other forms. And no one will ever replace my wife, Bonnie. She's still alive for me today in my heart. But I'm now actually happier than I've ever been in my life. Okay. Now really? I have waves where I can sink into it. And if I sink into it while we're talking, I may tears, my eyes turn red, but I feel no pain. You see, this is the healing, is you're able to now start to feel the flow of the emotion. Pain and suffering is holding on to the emotion, holding on to the fear that it will never go away.
So why do we hold on to that fear? Why do we hold on to it, John? Because, you're talking about awareness, and I've known men and I've read this and researched it, and I've coached people as well, that men and women have different ways of grieving. Men, for what I understand, usually remarry within 2 years. A woman could stay single for the rest of her life as long as we have good girlfriends that we can go and have a good time and do fun things together. A woman doesn't need to pair up with a man, or not as quickly as a man does. So let's talk about some of these differences so that we can understand, because I think understanding what's happening to us, like, oh, I heard John say, this is normal. This is normal. And, I just need to reset now. How does reset look like for me?
Well, it's like you're talking about the prayer you just talked about, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's a good reset. Anytime you recognize your mistake and you ask for forgiveness and you forgive yourself, really, and someone forgives you, helps you to forgive yourself, that's the reset. Always forgiveness is the reset. And so what happened for me for maybe a good 8 months, I mean, I had really troubled sleep. I mean, and I'll talk about how men do it differently from women, and we'll get into what you just said, but a little more on the journey. The journey is reflecting on what happened and what were my mistakes along the way. So I would wake up in the night and I would remember a conversation which turned into an argument. I remember an investment I made where I lost money and she was against it. I would remember the things that I did unknowingly, never intentionally, but I could have done it better. I could have done it better. And so I felt that. I felt the regret, which was a heavy feeling of guilt, actually. I feel like I could have been better. I could have been better. Literally, I went all the way back to when we're courting and looking at places where I could have been better. And making a commitment to be better. You see, that's where you heal. Is the pain and that's the part of the pain, which is the regret. Okay, so I'm feeling all this pain of loss and fear of this is never going to go away. Then I got in touch with deeper levels of guilt and regret. I should have done this. I wish I'd done that. But with love, you see, I'm remembering those things and I'm saying I could have done better. And I feel like I could have done this. I could have said that. And then I feel the confidence. Yes, I'm going to do that again. I have so much wisdom now because I was able to retrace our whole 40 years. Wow. Now, it's interesting. And all my books, my stories are there. Everything I write in my books is what I learned in my marriage, how I learned. And the key to it is I could have even done better. That's each book after shows how to do it even better and better and better. What we need to learn, the wisdom that comes. Well, more wisdom came to me during that time than ever. I mean, it's just amazing to me how much I grew from that. So the pain brings us deeper inside of ourselves, which says, okay, what do you need? Pain is there when we imagine that we can't have what we need. When your partner dies, the brain imagines, I'll never have what I need. So you've got to find that replacement. It doesn't mean jumping into another relationship necessarily, but for many men, it does. You see, that's what you're talking about, why men will just jump right into another one. And often women then even feel more hurt by that because what am I, chopped liver, because, I'm not ready to be with somebody. How are you suddenly ready to be with someone? Yeah. And that's the difference between men and women. You see, men have a much greater awareness of the need for sex. We know we need sex, okay? And women kind of go, I need love first, then I need sex, okay? So there's a lot of requirements for women to feel like I can't live without it. Men walk around with a little reminder, you can't live without it. And men are very visual. So men can see women and it wakes up. It has nothing to do with his conscious mind. Okay. This is automatic stuff. This is why you'll see all the magazines have pretty women on them with showing a lot of skin. Both men and women look. It's beautiful. Women are beautiful. And men have this need for sex. So that wakes his sexual desire, as well as when a relationship ends and a man is alone, his testosterone goes up. When a woman is in a relationship and it ends, she's alone, her testosterone goes up. Whenever you're independent on your own, testosterone goes up.
Wow.
But see, men need testosterone in order to lower depression and to open their heart. Women don't. Women need estrogen. And estrogen is my girlfriend's. Estrogen is my doctor. Estrogen is my garden. Anybody that I can depend on for something that's necessary for me, to make me feel good, my estrogen goes up and then you can fall in love again. But when women have that sense of now I have to do it myself. You see, when Bonnie left me, I had to do everything myself. When you have to do everything yourself, whether you're man or woman, testosterone increases. Wow. Testosterone is the stress lower for men. So for me, a lot of my married women that we know, all were like, they want to bring the food to me and everything like that. And they go, no, you need to be with people. I said, no, I don't need to be with people. I was literally like in the cave for many of the months in the beginning. I just need to be home, out thinking about somebody telling me you shouldn't be upset, because everybody wants to talk you out of being upset. I knew I needed to be alone. I needed to express how I felt. And I was wailing and being alone and doing meditation and taking time on my own. Because when men feel when they're on their own, it actually increases their testosterone. And of course, I prayed to God. That's another key. I mean, I prayed, take away this pain, a big, big part of me in that journey. But it wasn't like depending on a woman for my love. Now, I needed to come back to myself, which always, that's cave time for men that I write about in my books. It raises testosterone in men. Then we want to come out. So what men do when they feel, I now have to do it myself, my wife's going to do it for me, that actually makes them better people. Now, for women, they're depending on this guy and he's not there for them. Now they have to do it all for themselves. They were already doing it to a certain extent all by themselves, or the relationship wouldn't have gone to divorce. But if it's a sudden loss of death, that's really hard, where she now feels alone. Aloneness for a woman is a death sentence. Okay. It doesn't stimulate the hormones that allow her body to regulate stress. When women feel I'm on my own, their stress levels are much higher than for a man. When a man's out of a job, that's his stress levels are going to go high. He has to feel I'm productive. I can do things for others.
Now, does their testosterone go down if they lose their job or if they lose that connection to their self-esteem? You know,
Yeah.
losing a woman can increase, or being alone can increase their testosterone. But when they lose something that they hold value and see their self in, will that reduce the testosterone?
Dramatically. That's what's happening for men right now. When they lose their jobs, there's nothing more depressing, something to stimulate depression in a man, than losing a job and not having an opportunity to find another one. And this is what's happening right now. And so when men's testosterone goes down because they're not feeling productive, you see, in an ideal relationship, 90% of your happiness is not dependent on your partner. That's very important. See, I was happy before I married Bonnie. Okay, so, but I was just horny. And I also wanted a family. So, but basically I'm a happy guy. I got a good job. I feel good about myself. I'm healthy. I have all this knowledge, whatever. So she's whipped cream on top. She's dessert. And if women could just get, men are not the main meal, they're dessert. Okay, so, but women tend to have more of an attachment mode where they attach and then they disconnect from their friends. So at a divorce or a death, you really have to make a concerted effort to talk to your friends, to connect with your friends, to get help from your friends, to do fun things with your friends. This is like very, very important. And not just with your friends. Give it 1 or 2 years, go on dates with men. You don't feel the sexual need. You don't feel the attraction. It doesn't matter. What you want to do is have healthy attraction. And healthy attraction for women is not sexual. It first starts in the mind. See, maybe when you're younger, you find a guy really attractive and excited and you go date him or something. This is not the time to do that. This is the time to find that safe man who's interested in you. He's in your grieving group, basically, and he sees you and you're both going through the same experience. Now he wants to interact with you. You say yes, even if you have no sexual attraction to him at all, it doesn't matter. He's somebody who's interested in you. And you just go, is he safe? Does he have a job? Is he not needy on a physical level? Okay. Then what you do is you allow him to take you on dates. Let him do things for you. You need to have someone doing things for you where you can go, I don't have to do everything myself. I don't have to everything. I can depend on him. And so this is why, in this book, Beyond Mars and Venus, I talk about all these new emotional skills that will help women come back to being in touch with their femininity. Because estrogen happens when you can share your emotions. Testosterone happens as well if you analyze your emotions with the intention to let them go. So a lot of times when we share emotions, we do it to get people to feel sympathy for us. There's a goal in mind. And that doesn't actually produce much estrogen because you're trying to change somebody's point of view. Okay, so what you want to be able to do is share your emotions without trying to change somebody's point of view. And that's for a woman. If she was, wanting to justify why she left her relationship, she's always going to feel good. The relationship failed and it's his fault. And now she's sharing her feelings to justify it's all his fault. There's no healing that happens. You actually get addicted to complaining.
Yeah. And victimization too, becoming a victim instead of becoming responsible, which is what we talk about here in the classroom. It's interesting.
And wait, here's the point on that. What you just said so beautifully. When you indulge in victimization, you're Cain. And they prove this. They proved this by doing MRI scans on people who got stuck in the grieving process and they felt unhappy and they needed medications and they're depressed because they never got over the loss, some great loss in their life. And they just feel sorry for themselves and feel bad the rest of their lives, and they put them in MRIs and they found that when they talk about those subjects, dopamine, cocaine levels are being produced in the brain.
Holy, and that is so fascinating.
It is.
I hope that all of you just stop and listen to that, because many times we think that our victim talk, you can take the same thing in your life and you can tell the story as a victim and you can flip-flop it and tell the same story as if I did it. I am responsible for this, but not the word responsibility as blame, shame, fault, or duty, is I chose this for myself. That is that was the biggest change for me. And you just like blew my mind, John. So here's the thing that I want to go back to what you were saying.
I just have to acknowledge what you just said. I never heard anybody say it so beautifully, which is you can tell the same story, but what point of view are you sharing it from?
That's right.
If you're sharing it from the point of view of victim, you're going to produce massive levels of dopamine and you're addicted to victim and you don't let it go. If you're sharing it from the point of view of, I want to connect, I need to share, I want you to see what's going on inside of me, and it will help me to let it go.
Because I am the solution. I am the solution.
Help me to let it go. I learned my lesson. I want to be a better person. And the big reset of that wound is the forgiveness of others, as well as the forgiveness of ourselves.
Yes.
You have to be able to forgive ourselves to take responsibility without feeling guilt and shame, or temporarily feel guilt and shame, because that's what you feel. But the point of sharing is to let it go. You can't let something go until you feel it. So you're not trying to justify my victimness. You're using someone as an ear to help explore what you're feeling inside to get back to that place of love and forgiveness, and everything's going to be okay.
Wow. This is, I hope you guys are listening to this, because the classroom is all about responsibility. I have a page on the Lillian McDermott radio show at whenyounneedafriend.com. And that page tells, there are 4 questions that you can ask yourself, which is, how did I create it? What are the gifts and lessons? What's going to be different? And how am I going to use this for the greater good? And these are questions that you answer without blame, shame, fault, or duty. It's no different than 2 + 2 = 4. You never would say, I can't believe 2 + 2 = 4. So I want to make sure that all of you capture this moment. This is probably, I'm so excited to hear you say this, John, because I didn't make the connection of the dopamine release until now when you said that. And you completely blew my mind, because sometimes as a coach, and I don't know how I missed this, or maybe I forgot it, although I remember everything. That's what I tell myself. So that people just don't want to let go of being a victim. This is the most incredible shift and healing of resetting the bones that we're talking about today, which is to say, I am co-creator. And if I create everything in my life, I can solve everything. I can reset everything. I can change everything and make it to what I want. And that's so much more empowering than poor is me. This person did this to me and that person did to me. Because if you start looking at the patterns, you will see that you are the consistent person in every single story of victimization. So at what point do we say, you know what? Enough is enough. I am tired of this crap. I am tired of being a victim. At what point do we say that? I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. I hope that people captured what you said, John, and say, that's why I can't get past. And that's why I'm stuck. And by the way, I'm just going to go into, since I just got into this rant, I want to encourage you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com. When you go to whenyounneedafriend.com, please become a subscriber. And when you subscribe, also look at my social media, like and follow, go to YouTube and BitChute, because we are being censored. So go to BitChute as well, and go, just in case, you never know, you will always find me at whenyounneedafriend.com and at BitChute and Facebook and podcasts. They're doing good. No one censor me and podcasts. So while you're there, just know you'll get so many gifts when you become a subscriber. And we are doing the cleanse, the Jews cleanse, and we are doing as well the Bible study with Dr. Lorraine Day, which I'm really excited about. So go to whenyounneedafriend.com to learn more. Now, one of the things I want you to do when you go there is that I want you to click onto my sponsors page, because as you know, if you know, there's a cost to do this. And without our sponsors, there would be no classroom. And so I want to thank Nori Nutraceutical, which is Nutritional Oncology Research Institute. We have Keep Me Safe Organics that are designed to keep your body safe, free from chemicals, all organic beauty products. First Alternative Care, which, by the way, they're coming tomorrow to announce a huge discount, which is, you know, telemedicine for the entire family, non-urgent family practice. Dermatology is unlimited for the entire household, and also 3 hours a year of behavioral health counseling for $45 a month for your entire household. And even if your kid is going to college, they're included in your household. If your parents live with you, they're included in your household. So tune in tomorrow as well to learn about the huge discount for all you Lillian McDermott radio show classroom followers. And so come and learn more about that. The Pharmacy of Merritt Island, that's changing pills into compounds. And as you know, the registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. So I'm excited about the pharmacy. Live Longer Medical, that lets us, makes us as beautiful on the inside as we are on the outside. Talk about, John, we talked about testosterone the last time in the classroom. We're going to talk about it again. And of course, the affiliate programs like Ground Therapy, Brain Tap, as well as Avasia. So those are all ways, of microcurrents and different ways to just heal our bodies with naturally, just absolutely naturally. And so please support my sponsors the way they're supporting the classroom. And last but not least, you can become a subscribed student, an enrolled student in the classroom. You can donate from $1 all the way to whatever you can. Time, talent, or treasure. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. We have John Gray. You can go to marsvenus.com. I'm sure you've heard of all his books, and you probably even quoted it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or what? I don't know if I said that correctly, but I did. Okay. So I want to encourage you to go to marsvenus.com as well. And if you want to get a copy of John Gray's book, you're free to do that too. Can they get it at Amazon, or can they just go to marsvenus.com and get it?
Go to marsvenus.com, and from there they get a free class as well. I have a free class.
Tell us more, John Gray.
It's how to get more in your relationships, and it's actually 4 classes: one for single men, single women, married women, and it's free. You go right on the front page, and it's right there for you, and you'll love it. And also the link to getting the book, you link to Amazon to get it, but you can link from my site to do that. Also, people are not aware, and I know your audience is more aware of health and vitality. And, you know, another big section of the books I've written on wellness and health is, you know, you can't really have a good relationship if you're eating junk food and you're depressed, you have blood sugar issues, you have low testosterone because you're overweight. You know, for men, a big reason why we lose weight, we lose our testosterone and our sexual drive with our partners is because we have belly fat. It's just very important that we keep cleansing the liver. I think that you having everybody do the juice cleanse is so great. I do a cleanse regularly. I create even a cleanse formula. You can read that.
Yeah, you said you're going to talk about that. What is your?
You know, basically, juice is a fun class, but for me, it would be too much sugar. So I have extremely low sugar mix, which has got aloe vera to heal the gut. It's got lemon on an empty stomach, detoxifies the liver. Has got all your vitamins from rice bran. Stabilized rice bran actually has all of your vitamins, has probiotics, and it has prebiotics, and it's very inexpensive. And you can do a cleanse where you drink it 5 times a day. You just take a little powder and put it in a glass. I can make it last longer because it's too sweet for me. Some people say it's not sweet enough. So you have to make it sweet enough to make just a little insulin spike to deliver the minerals to the body. Mm-hmm. And then I have another product I formulated 20 years ago when I had early stage Parkinson's. And that helped dramatically reduce that, or took it away actually with some other things. But it was super minerals for men and super minerals for women. There are minerals that will give you energy. There are minerals that have to get into your brain. They're alkalizing minerals: potassium, zinc, magnesium, calcium, and lithium. And lithium is so important. Most people they think it's a drug because doctors give it in toxic doses for bipolar. But actually, we all have our ups and downs, right? And that's because we run out of lithium. Lithium is when we eat a lot of sugar, it depletes the brain of lithium, which balances the dopamine and serotonin levels. And if you look in nature, your primary source of lithium is beets, and your primary source of sugar today is beets. It's the mineral that the nature gives you a lot of lithium if you're going to eat the sweet beet, because it helps stabilize the brain. Because anytime you get a surge of happiness and ecstatic and high state, as you were talking about, we all want to be in this high state. You're actually high functioning. You tend to run out of lithium very quickly. So it's something I've been doing for 20 years is microdosing lithium orotate. So that's also available. It's all over the internet as well. You won't find it in stores.
So it's not in your website. So this is something.
It is at my website. All of this. And go to my website, download my free book on wellness to get the right suggestions for you on the condition you might have. You don't have to take toxic doses. See, a doctor gives 500 times the dose that I'm recommending with the right cofactors. It's way more effective and there's no side effects. But when you give someone 500 times the dose of a salt, you're going to have side effects. And that's why doctors, they consider it a drug, but actually lithium is just a mineral. Dr. Nieper from Germany discovered that if you bind lithium to uric acid, a substance in mother's milk, a small dose goes across the brain and gives you what you need. But when you're experiencing stress, you're depleted and you have to replenish yourself. Again, it's resetting. We reset the bone through forgiveness on an emotional level, reset the brain when there's stress. And I want to just share about immune function. Of course, we're not getting enough sunshine. We put things on our face, so we're not getting enough vitamin D. Most people are deficient in vitamin D. Great vitamin D products that are delicious. But having said that, you need to have vitamin D in order for your immune function. And anger kills your immune system. For me, I rarely ever get angry. If I get angry, it means my hormones are out of balance. Okay. So I get vulnerable. Anybody get triggered, something happens. But if I even start to get angry, I go, no way, I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to run away from this moment. Why? Because I'll get these fever blisters, person, I can't get a fever blister. They stay for a week,
What a great motivator, huh?
It is the motivator, but just for people should know, just like I'm terrified of anger, getting a cold or flu or any kind of immune system problem, immediately your body loses its ability to protect itself from viral infection if you're angry. So there's the being.
And let me tell you, John, there's so much anger in the world right now. And that's why I am 99 and I started I am 99. I was sharing that with you, at 5:00, we're doing the Ho'oponopono. I hope that you guys have marked your calendar and, maybe I'll start coming earlier in the classroom to do the 5:00 Ho'oponopono with you. But it's amazing how, the covering of the face and the fighting with one another. It's like the 1% of the 1% is keeping us controlled by dividing us and causing more division and more anger and fear and hate. And we're fighting amongst ourselves. The 1% of the 1%, all I have to do is just like pull the string and we just do what they want. And so, I started a group. I don't want it to be about, mask wearing or Trump or not Trump. Everybody is welcome to I am 99, but we don't want to talk about what we already know what's happening in the world. What we want to talk about is how are we going to be different? How are we going to unite? And that's why we're doing the Bible study with Dr. Lorraine Day. That's why we're doing the Ho'oponopono, because everybody just wants to talk about the problem, but we need to be about the solution. So I hope that you guys join I am 99. And there is an addiction. And I want to stay with this because
that's why people are watching the news. They're addicted to danger. They're addicted to new and different. And when new and different is dangerous, it's double the dopamine. And so our mind just goes to that. You see, the mind, and we'll always have a bias towards negativity when we feel danger. You have to look at what's wrong. And when you look at what's wrong and you feel danger, then it produces more dopamine. And then when you talk about it and you share about it and think about it, it's just your brain becomes obsessed with that. So you have to give it a conscious break. But let me say one thing about anger. because it's not like we're saying never be angry.
Correct.
Never use anger to reinforce your victimness. You see, it's like, where are you coming from? If you feel anger, if I start to feel anger, what immediately I do as a man, now this is different for a woman. I know I have to look somewhere else and go somewhere else to feel good. Okay. Because anger in a man is literally high estrogen, low testosterone.
Really?
Yes, that's biologically. It's high estrogen. I become too emotional, too sensitive, too needy, too insecure, emotion of fear. So when a man has high estrogen, low testosterone, he starts getting irritable, he gets angry, he becomes demanding, controlling. All of that is low testosterone in men and high estrogen. So if I start to feel that way, I'm not a perfect person. Nobody's, when the winds are blowing, we go out of balance. So I get angry about something. I immediately go, I'm going to get a fever blister. So I've got to quickly do something, shift my attention to something that makes me feel good. Now, what makes me feel good is always testosterone, something testosterone producing. I can drive my car. I can listen to music. I can solve a puzzle. I can go and I can watch a movie sometimes. I can do something to distract myself from negativity, anything that's making me feel angry. That's a key thing for men to know. Now, for women, if they're feeling any kind of negative distress, what they need to do is shift gears to somebody who doesn't buy into their negativity, who has a fear of that being real. My life is over, but let's take a husband, for example. Let's say you're upset with your husband. Talk to a girlfriend, not a family member, because they'll never forget what you say. If you complain about your husband to your family, they're going to remember everything. They don't have the juice, the love for that person to let it go.
Yeah, blood is thicker than water. I always say blood is thicker than water.
Yeah. So nicely said. So you go to a friend or a therapist, a coach, a counselor, whatever, who basically has the intent to hear you, understand why you feel that way, and also understand why you can let go of those feelings. And generally, when it comes to I give colors to the emotions. You have the red emotions or anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, outrage. Okay, that's the hot emotions. If you ever get stuck in a hot emotion, you can't let it go. It's because you have to look a little deeper. There's always something else going on inside. And generally linked to anger always is fear. If you don't have fear, why be angry? Okay, what's the big deal? It's no big deal, no problem. You see, it's our fear, our threat that makes us argumentative. It makes us feel angry for some people. Now, for some women particularly, they can't, no permission to feel angry, because expressing anger in childhood didn't work. But feeling anger is okay if you're letting it go. And how do you let go of anger? Change the emotion. So go from your anger, if you're feeling it, to what am I disappointed about? That's a blue emotion. Always with anger, there's a disappointment. What do I feel sad about? What hurts? Okay, explore a different emotion, and you shift from anger to the different emotion. And generally you can go from anger to sadness, or maybe from anger to fear and then to sadness. But these are the three primary emotions. And just to see how powerful they are, every child naturally experiences them if you let them talk. They're universal emotions. And if you had, a long time ago, they had the big screen TV with a projection. The projection had actual colored lenses. One was red, one was blue, and one was yellow. Three primary colors on a black screen produce infinite number of colors.
Wow.
Now, look at their emotions. The red is the ones I mentioned. The blues are the ones sadness, disappointment, hurt, grief. Then you have the yellow. We can say yellow is fear, worry, anxiety, concern. Those are the other shape,
which are low frequencies.
They're all frequencies, and they're changed the frequency. So when you can change from one to the other because they're there, now you're moving your emotions, and who's moving them is your conscious mind. You're reflecting and controlling. Now you can easily let go. So sometimes you feel this, then feel this, and feel this. And the black screen, by the way, is the guilt and shame. So if you feel some guilt and shame, feel it, but because you've looked at the other emotions, you let it go. And sometimes people can't let go of guilt because they're not giving themselves the permission to be angry at somebody else. They blame themselves. It's like, because of you, this person died. Well, no, that person killed them. I'm not responsible. But often people take unreasonable responsibility for things and feel guilty because they're not letting the guilt be shared. But see, these are all just emotions to temporarily feel, to balance them out. Because if you have no permission ever to feel anger, because that's a bad person feels anger, then you either get stuck in fear and you worry and feel anxiety all the time. You get stuck in depression. And they say often depression is just anger turned against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then people who do just feel guilty all the time, is they need to give themselves permission to feel the anger at others, feel it, but don't express it to change others. When you use an emotion to create a result outside of yourself, you become addicted to that emotion to get what you want. So every time you're not getting what you want, you use your tool. I'll just go get mad at somebody, or I'll go cry, or I'll hold back and be afraid. You see, we don't want to use our emotions to create a result. We use our emotions to come back to the love, which is behind it. Because every emotion, negative emotion, is a blocked desire, something we want. And what is our soul desire all the time? To love, to help, to forgive.
Love and be loved. Yeah.
This is, and the need, the desire is to love, and the need is to be loved. And that's underneath all of those negative emotions. So if you feel them, you're just going back to where they started. Feel them and let it go by feeling what you want and what you wish and what you need. And inside the seed of every desire, a heartfelt desire, is the confidence that you deserve it and you can have it, and the love and appreciation for the people that can help you get there. So it's all inside of ourselves, but sometimes negative emotions, by feeling them, not using them, but feeling them, going deeper and deeper, brings us back to the feeling of love that we have in our heart.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So let's because I know that I'm kind of excited about the one, but today's class is about how to move on and how to get unstuck. So you had said, working with somebody else, or replacing the feeling, or replacing the emotion. So permission
to have the feelings. I don't have to rush through this, but also then permission to feel good after I feel those feelings. And so as friends, we often don't know how to treat our friends who are grieving. And so they isolate themselves for the wrong reason, which is people keep telling you, you got to get over it. You got to get over it. Or people would always say to me, your wife is in heaven and she wants you to have a girlfriend. And I said, yes, but I'm just not ready for that. And then when I did get a girlfriend, I'm embarrassed for my friends to know that I'm so happy because I'm having great sex again. There's nothing like going a year without sex and then having great sex again.
Okay. So let's talk about great sex. Not your great sex, but general.
Great sex. Yeah.
Okay. Great sex. Okay. So what I want to ask you is that when I was divorced, I was married for 7 years and divorced, and I was divorced for 3 years with 2 little kids. And during that time of healing, to reset my bones, I love that analogy, I went to a divorced, widowed, and separated group in our church. And after we were all together, they decided to separate it because it became obvious that the widows were different than the divorced people or the separated people, because the widows wanted their spouse back and the divorced people wanted them dead. So they separated us. They had to separate us. Absolutely is a true story.
Yes.
So what happened was, like, I was committed to learn about myself, because I went in there to be angry with my ex-husband, the jerk that left me, versus the jerk that I found myself in those pages. And I thought, I could fix myself. I can't fix him, but I can work with myself. So a lot of the people that were in this group, as soon as they found that attraction with the other person, which I can't imagine many men or women go there just to hook up with people, because people are very vulnerable during this stage, they would stop coming to the group. So I joined this 21 week group, and I completed the course, and I just was so much happier after that I was ready to move on. But that first time that, let's say as a widower, that you're intimate with somebody else, that guilt, is there any guilt, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There was a lot of guilt it wasn't so much by the time I got to be with somebody, I didn't have guilt. I would be embarrassed if people knew, but I had guilt long before that, just feeling happy. I mean, I'm not allowed to be happy again. I'm not allowed to love again. I'm not allowed, if I love someone else, then that means I don't love my wife. That's the way the mind looks at it. How can I
you had mentioned
love someone?
Yeah.
And, it was tough for my children. That's how can dad cheat on mom like this? That's kind of the feeling that.
Sure.
that
And
exists.
how did you talk with, and I know that we're like at 5 minutes till the podcast. And by the way, for those of you who are listening on the podcast, which I love all my podcasters that are just, I love the fact that worldwide we are learning and growing together in this classroom. And so I want to encourage you that if you want to continue, because I don't know, John, if you have a little bit of time after the class that we can maybe kind of wrap up and talk about some of the things, because I really do want to talk about this guilt feeling and how to move on to that, to feeling that life that we've always desired, that we wanted to have. That life can get better. And so for those of you who are listening on podcast, please feel free to join us at whenyouneedafriend.com live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. So, and John, I'm so grateful that you've come on today, because you could be having sex with your girlfriend right now, but you're choosing to be in the classroom right now. So I'm very grateful to you. So with that in mind, is that I like the fact that we just need to become aware of that we are guilty and that we deserve, and we need to give ourselves permission.
Be aware that we feel guilty and that we deserve to give ourselves the opportunity to feel love and be happy again. But the feelings of guilt are there because the brain has a problem with this. The brain says, how can I lose my wife and be happy when I lost her, I was in more pain than I've ever felt in my life? Why was I in so much pain? If somebody says, why are you feeling so bad, John? Because I just lost my wife. My life is over. I don't know what my future life's going to be. How could it be better than what it was? I mean, this is like hugely devastating for me. And why? Why is it devastating? Because I love my wife so much.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, well, if you're feeling happy, then that means you don't love your wife. Because your pain is because you love your wife. See, the brain's very simple. I'm in pain because I love my wife. She's not here. So if I'm happy, that means I don't love my wife. If I don't care anymore, I don't miss her anymore. She's not that important to me, but she is important to me. But the reality, we have to realize you can totally love your spouse. And by exploring those feelings as they come up over time, and by listening to yourself, and for women, particularly sharing with other people, is getting the attention, the affection, and the warmth that your body needs. Your soul, your body needs it. Okay. It needs to be heard and seen to produce the estrogen to help you heal. Otherwise, you're all alone and your testosterone will go too high. And for men to be able to give themselves permission to be happy again is giving him permission to do things he enjoys doing and can do, because that produces his right hormone balance for him. So it's a matter of making a choice to go and do this. And otherwise, we just sit and wallow in our pain. We have to use willpower to step out of it, which is a really key concept in all situations. When you're out of balance, it takes willpower to go into balance. So if you're out of balance, you don't want to go to the gym to work out because you're out of balance. If you're in balance, you can't wait to go to the gym. Not that I'm a big gym person, but that's a good example of people often when there's something good for them to do. If I'm eating a bowl of ice cream, which I gave myself permission to eat during this time, I gave myself comfort foods, and then I would get a little belly fat. And then I realized my belly fat means my testosterone will go down. As a man, you need testosterone to go up.
Well, we're going to continue because we're going to continue this conversation with all the teachers' pets. You could always ask questions. And John, I just absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for coming into the classroom today and being our wonderful teacher. But we're going to continue our conversation after this. Please remember, we'll always be here waiting for you. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. John Gray wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Yay!
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
How much time do you have? Because I didn't ask you that before.
I have an appointment at 3:15 my time.
Okay, so let's
15 minutes.
I have 3 follow-up questions for you.
Good.
Okay. And for those of you, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. So you had mentioned that men, when they are angry, they get high estrogen and low testosterone. What do
Yes.
women get? Do they get high testosterone, low estrogen? How does it work with women?
If women are angry and they feel somebody's listening to them and they're not trying to change that person with their anger, actually it's very good. Their estrogen levels start to go up and their testosterone starts to go down because they feel heard. Because that's really key. But often if we're using anger to justify our victimness and to gain support through our anger, then you're now trying to solve a problem. So your testosterone goes up for women. So testosterone going up is not a bad thing for women, but if it's going up to justify victimness or to protect yourself, then you just get stuck in it.
Which leads to addiction of that victimization.
And also, and it leads to being too far on your male side, not on your female side. And the female side is where you access your love, where you access your happiness and joy. You know, this is the softness of femininity. That's why men can't live without you. You can live without us, but we can't live without you. All the joy comes from
dime
you.
a dozen. You're dime a dozen. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. So another thing that we didn't get to talk about because time just flies in the classroom.
Well, let me add to this. Okay. If a man is angry, his estrogen is high. What increases anger is talking. If a man talks when he's angry, he will, because he always wants to solve a problem. Men talk to make a difference, to get people to change. Women often talk to change people or just to connect. See, if you're talking just to understand and connect, and that's different from trying to change somebody. But when men get angry, they're always intimidating and they're trying to change someone. And that, generally speaking, and that increases anger. So if a man's angry, don't ask him questions, don't engage in conversation, take a time out.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to get an angrier man.
Okay. So we just got dropped out of Facebook for some reason, but we are still live on YouTube. So, okay. So with that in mind, if a man feels heard when they're angry, will they go in balance?
Yeah. Okay. That's something you can do, but often not the recommended thing to do. Why? Women have done that for 1,000 years. Women were not stupid. Okay. When men get angry, what women would do is listen and say, you're right. The number one thing to produce testosterone in a man is tell him he's right. But let's say you have a complaint. He says you're wrong for that complaint. And you say you're right. Now you become a doormat. So under exceptional situations to protect yourself, you make him right. Okay. Well, you're right. You're right. It will calm him down, but you're training him to not respect your point of view. So it was sort of a safety measure. And then women could use it to flatter a man and so forth. Men's testosterone goes up when they feel successful, when they feel right, when they feel they can contribute to a situation. And men often don't understand what a woman needs because often she's expressing her feelings. She's not really wanting him to say you're right. She's wanting him to say you have a right to feel the way you feel. It's different. You see, one is an overreaction to a situation is you're not right in saying that is the way you're saying it is. But you have the right to say that because you've had 10 other bad things happen to you today. So naturally, your emotions are going to be much stronger than in another day when you're feeling very peaceful and some little thing happens. You don't get that upset. So see, overreaction is understandable, but it's not right. It's not rational. Because one day, if there's an ant in my kitchen, you go, I'll get rid of it. And another day you've had a bad day. Oh no, not ants. I can't believe it. Ants. It's a completely different reaction. It's an overreaction, but overreactions can be valid. You know, if you pat me on the shoulder and I go, ow, how could you do that? It's an overreaction because you just patted me on the shoulder. But if I show you what's under the shirt and there's a big wound, and then you go, oh, I understand why you feel that way. And then it makes sense to me. So that's validation. So women are needing validation. Men often want to be right, but sometimes they're not right. So don't make him right. Instead, create time out. You don't talk to him. Don't ask him questions because then you argue more. Escalating arguments is too much talking.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Escalating arguments is too much talking. Okay. I like that. Okay. So when you are coming out of a relationship, which is what I saw in my divorce group that I attended many years ago. These people would start off with, they couldn't even say their name. They couldn't even say their name. They were so upset and so hurt or angry or whatever. But then after they hooked up with some other guy or girl, they were like, gone. They didn't even continue their growth. Or sometimes they would just like, to me, it was a false sense of healing.
Yes.
And
people do that.
Yeah. And so there's such a thing that I learned about in the course, which is called a transitional relationship. Your first relationship after that relationship is ended, whether it's through death or divorce or whatever, that first relationship is called a transitional relationship. Now, what do you tell people to be? I mean, do you say just go and have a good time, but don't expect anything from this relationship? What do you tell them?
I agree with transitional relationships. Um, I call it the rebound. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should all be responsible to know that transitional relationships or the rebound may not be lasting relationships.
No.
Okay, let's just
No.
say it may not be lasting.
And some people stay in them too long.
Yeah. And some people may grow together in love. You just don't know. But what you do know is if somebody has been missing love for a long time in a relationship, and they have been, if they're getting a divorce, something's missing. They're like a person in a desert. They've been on a cleanse for several days, and now they're going to eat anything you eat after a cleanse.
I remember.
I
I used to say that when you're starving, even McDonald's tastes good.
That's right, exactly. When you're starving, actually, McDonald's tastes good because they put stuff in it to make it taste good. But a bagel tastes good.
Well,
Okay.
but that was back then. I used to say when I wasn't.
I get it. McDonald's. But they spend lots of money making those things taste good.
I know. Talk about addiction, right?
Yeah, massive.
Fortunately, I'm not addicted to that. So
no, because you know, but that's because you know it's not good for you.
Of course.
I
make a choice. I make a choice. I make a choice. I say, is this going to make me healthier or this is going to make me sicker? And there are times where I choose health, and there are very rare times like I eat 90% well, but that 10%, I'm going to do whatever I want. Don't mess with me.
As you say this, let me emphasize something. Don't be afraid of foods. We're living in a culture now where people are afraid of this and
everything.
You don't need fear to make right decisions. There's this idea that, oh no, I need to have fear. Mm-hmm. No, you never need fear to make right. Fear is always leading in the wrong direction.
Correct.
Because you're not loving at that time.
That's right.
But people think, no, I need to have fear. Otherwise I'll do these things. No, you can have reason and intuition.
Yep.
Good reason has no fear associated with it. Get rid of the fear and then figure out what you want to do. So you make a choice. A choice is always free from fear. Mm-hmm. A fear is an automatic reaction. And you actually, living in fear actually stresses out your brain. When you think, oh, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, you become more and more sensitive to foods in terms of a negative reaction to them. Mm. So we need to be bold, but make decisions based upon our logic and our knowledge of the effects of things on us.
Great way to say it, because I always say nothing good comes from fear. Nothing good comes from fear. But we can make choices, and every choice we make has a consequence, whether it's something that's going to be favorable or something that's not going to be favorable, but it's still a choice, and we are in choice. And so
and for me, I like to make all my choices based on my own experience and not what somebody tells me. So even I was like, I know that eating ice cream, for example, even if organic good ice cream puts on weight in my belly, I watch every day. I check, did it put on weight? Did I put on weight? And it starts to put on weight. Then I say, okay, now I don't eat it for a few days. Done. It's moderation, but it's not based on I'm afraid of ice cream or I'm afraid of this or this. It's I make my choices based upon what's reasonable, and I look to my body for the reaction I get.
That's right. Inflammation is inflammation. It doesn't matter where it is. So, okay. So the transitional relationship, enjoy it, but know that it's probably most likely not going to be long lasting, right?
Exactly. And it would be good for your self-esteem if you're a woman to have a man that you're not that interested in, who's more interested in you. That gives you the power. That also you can allow you to practice many of the ideas of this book. Beyond Mars and Venus, how to ask for what you want, how not to overgive, how to express your opinions without holding back at all, but how to do it in a way where you're not trying to argue or control somebody, but to be freely expressing your authentic self. That's what we truly want. And we need to practice that. And so if he's wanting you more than you're wanting him, you have the freedom to do that. Nice. As soon as you're wanting him more than he wants you, you go into a fight or flight reaction and old habits come up.
And it's done. You're done. You pack up your bags and go. Okay. So the third, I said I had 3 questions. So the third one is your children. You mentioned, that you've been able to deal with guilt, and you can say, I have permission to be happy again. I deserve this. And you do, because you might have 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you. And so now it's time to say,
even if I have 1 year ahead of me.
Even if you have, I have a feeling I'm going to see the position you're going to die in. Okay, but that's between you and I. Okay, so the question is, how do you embrace your children to accept the fact that you do have permission?
Yeah, I basically, what one child maybe doesn't approve, but recognize these kids that grow up being responsible, just says it's too much for me to deal with right now. So I basically say, well, then don't come over the house unless you text first, which was a hard thing for my kids not to be able to come over the house. But they're grown up, so they understood. Okay, so that's A, but still it's hard for them to see. So that's their choice. But from my side, I don't feel guilt about it. I go, I would be hurting my children if I made a decision for my well-being because of their own issues. Mm-hmm. They need to know that they're grown-ups, they're responsible for their happiness. I'm a grown-up, I'm responsible for my happiness. Because, you know, children could say, oh, we can't deal with you having somebody else. How could you do that? Mm-hmm. That's me making a change within myself. I certainly won't put it in their face or talk about it in front of them. But if I was to let them control my life, it's like a child throwing a tantrum and letting them control situations. It takes time, but they will finally come around. And the way the children have come around, I've watched it and I see it when couples get a divorce, how you bring in another person. The kids really get upset about that too. You basically let them know, they begin to accept this stranger who they didn't date, they didn't get close to, they don't have a need for. They get close to the stranger by seeing the stranger makes daddy happy. The stranger makes mommy happy. That's how I won over my stepchildren. I have 2 stepchildren and daughter. And the way I won them over, because in the beginning, we were downplaying my affection for Bonnie so they wouldn't be jealous. Mm-hmm. And then we said, this isn't working. Let's do it the opposite. And just upplay how wonderful I am in your life and how happy I make you. And then they started liking me, not because they liked me, but because I make their mother happy. Oh, and ultimately, our children want us to be happy. Ultimately. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's how we give them permission to be happy too. We do have a quick question. If you don't mind, it's from Kim. She says, I lost my 19-year-old cat to illness recently. I impulsively applied for a kitten a week ago and had really intended to get an older cat. Now I feel bad as the rescue texted and said, I am being offered the kitten, but I am scared I won't love her. Aw. Let me see if there's more to that question. So isn't that how we sabotage ourselves, John? You know, that I won't love her as much. I am chronically ill, so also worried I won't have enough for her or enough, I guess I'm saying time, but at the same time, I feel like she might be good for as medicine. How do I figure out what to do? What's the right thing? A kitten or a cat, or nothing?
You do have to follow your heart, but I saw the warning signs there. Mm-hmm. A little kitten is so full of life force energy. It's new life. And that's what you have to do, is give yourself permission to resonate with new life. And I will say that you can go through the same grieving pain, losing a pet, as a spouse. And we need to give everybody permission to know. People who don't have pets don't understand that, particularly if you're alone and you have a pet. Oh my God, that is your mate. On an emotional level, you have bonded and you lose that. You want to find that again. And finding a kitten is someone you're going to need to take care of, who's going to give you massive unconditional love, who needs you. And that's a really sweet thing at this time to feel that.
Well, Kim, we're sorry about the loss of your cat. I'm sure this is really difficult for you, but I am so grateful that you asked the question, and now that you can make your own decision, follow your intuition. Yes. And so, John, thank you so much for coming on today. I just absolutely love this conversation. Dawn, you can find John at marsvenus.com. And if you want to check out some of his books, or maybe download some of his free content so that you can start becoming your own self-cleaning oven and get yourself the life that you want. Create it. Thank you, John, for everything that you do. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys tomorrow. So thank you, John.
Let today be your best day
ever. Good job. You got it right this time.